Perhaps we've entered an absurd new era where terrorism is, if not condoned, then accepted and even understood by Western political leaders and authorities. Terrorists who have killed thousands of innocent people are being offered plea deals. And if they're killed, the left is worried about what it will mean for stability. One of the masterminds of the September 11 terror attacks, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, has been spared the death penalty and instead given a plea deal by American prosecutors. 2 other Al-Qaeda terrorists involved in the attack have also been given plea deals. Now, these are the last people who should ever be given deals for their role in the murder of 2,976 people in the Twin Towers, because what they did is unforgivable. The families of those who died are reportedly devastated. They've been waiting for 24 years to see justice. The New York Post calls it an atrocity of justice. When Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated, you've probably heard concern in the media about the escalation in violence, rather than an acknowledgement or any praise for eliminating a bloodthirsty terrorist. Well, recall when President Barack Obama made this famous announcement in 2011.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
Osama bin Laden was killed when elite US soldiers tracked him down in a Pakistani compound in a high-risk, top-secret operation. The news was welcomed. Movies were made. The courage and stealth of the brave squad was rightly praised. It was a great political achievement for Obama as well. No one criticised the assassination out of concern or fear that Al-Qaeda would retaliate. Of course not. We weren't so weak in those days, and terrorists weren't so emboldened. So what's happened to the world in the past 13 years? The operation to assassinate Haniyeh was brazen. Presumably drawing on high-level intelligence, operatives tracked him down and killed him in his own home in Tehran in an early morning strike. We presume it was Mossad, although Israel hasn't confirmed it. It was, without question, an impressive hit. He thought he was protected, safe from the violence of Gaza, in the powerful city of Tehran. The lesson, of course, is that there's no place where these terrorists can hide. But it's bizarre that the reaction to the very welcome news that Haniyeh was killed has been muted, to say the least, both by authorities and the media. Instead, there are concerns for what it will mean for stability in the region and what will happen to the prospects of a ceasefire.
The message to the other negotiators is we were on the brink of a ceasefire and they were very close. The Americans thought they were within days. Someone has now shot dead our key negotiator. And they will say it's the Israelis. We cannot now make a peace deal with you.
And this could definitely have a negative effect on those ongoing negotiations.
It's certainly does maybe even irreparable damage to the ceasefire talks, since Haniyeh was essentially the chief Palestinian negotiator.
A ceasefire, by the way, that can't happen anyway until the hostages are returned and Hamas has surrendered or has been destroyed and is no longer in power. Well, it was a similar sentiment from the United Nations after the Security Council held emergency talks following the deaths of the Hamas and Hezbollah leaders. The UN concerned the airstrikes have made matters worse.
Dangerous escalation at a moment in which all efforts should instead be leading to a ceasefire in Gaza.
Well, Haniyeh didn't remotely care about Palestinians. He was living in obscene wealth while causing misery for his own people. Not only did he order barbaric massacres against Israelis, but he was responsible for the military strategy where Hamas fighters operate from densely populated civilian areas, despite knowing this will cause innocent Palestinians to die. All the while, Haniyeh was safely ensconced in Qatar, living a comfortable life, plenty of food, and worth a cool $4 billion. The phrase that Benjamin Netanyahu uttered early on, the need for moral clarity, encapsulates what we're seeing here. There's a bizarre confusion about what's right and wrong. Some on the left seem to think terrorism might be justified. The concern over the death of a terror chief is bizarre. You've heard the argument that the mission to destroy Hamas is pointless because an ideology can't be defeated. Now, if you don't realise how warped this is, perhaps because you're so conditioned to hearing it from authority figures, well, imagine if that was applied during World War II. Oh, don't kill Hitler and the Nazis because you can never kill off the ideology of fascism. It's truly absurd. Yes, there's risk of escalation and retaliation, but of course that doesn't mean you allow terrorism to foster. That doesn't mean you pack up and go home and allow terrorists to repeat atrocities over and over again without consequence. That doesn't mean your own citizens should have to accept living in a state of fear and violence. And it's actually weakness in our global political leadership that has sent the message to the Ayatollahs of Iran that they can get away with brazen strikes. They doubt America's global commitment to Israel. They doubt its global leadership. The realisation needs to sink in that, yes, these terrorists are anti-Semitic, but it's actually anti-Americanism that's driving them. They see Israel as an arm of America, because Israel is a democracy amid dictators. Iran, Hamas and Hezbollah can't comprehend that there are Western values, inclusivity for all religions, ethnicities, sexualities and genders, in a country in the very heart of the Middle East. It's everything that Islamic extremism despises about the West. In essence, Jews in the Middle East representing democratic values, and Iran and their proxies like Hamas can't compute that they've lived on the land of Israel for more than 3,000 years.